Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motor Chaos. It's yours, Dave. Airline special guest, Jamie. How do you say your last name?
Bodenstadt.
Jamie Bodenstadt. Alaskan Grizzly, fuel altered. So how's it going?
It's going all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. So did you get the fuel altered out this year?
No, actually, we did not. It was a crazy season, and we're making some changes, and we actually didn't run the Grizzly at all this year.
So what's the plans for next year?
Well, we bought a new car, and we're starting to work on putting that together. It's got a funny car body, and we're gonna try to get down to the lower 48 and do some racing.
This will be another Alaskan Grizzly?
Yes, yeah, but we'll actually mount the fuel altered body on it, so it'll be a transformer. We'll have a funny car body that goes with it also.
Right, so you could do different events with either body.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to go. We're looking at this funny car chaos series down there. It looks like a lot of fun, and we'd like to go down and join them.
Oh yeah, those guys are having a blast.
Yeah, and with our car and our location, it's really hard to. It takes a lot of things to line up to get a top fuel car down the track.
Right. And then one guy came out from Canada last year. He did one event. Yeah. So I think that was about the farthest anyone came to do funny car chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
now that we had the prospector up here. The prospector funny car came up and raced us once. And they were from Canada. They had it was a really nice weekend. We got up some good passes that weekend, but we just don't have a lot of competition up here. Actually, we have no competition up here, so it's really hard to kind of gauge where our car's at, or
right.
So it's always us against the clock. Years ago, Ricky Reese was coming up a lot with a Nevada Rattler. We had a lot of fun racing them, and back in the day, Ron Foswell came up a few times. So yeah, we've had some pretty good cars up here in Alaska, and how the cars run is all weather dependent.
So how many tracks you got out there in Alaska?
We have one, and it's 365 miles away from where we live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in Fairbanks. We're right in the center of Alaska. It gets really cold up here in the winter. We see temperatures 60 below in the winter. Our summers are hot. The sun never goes down 90 degrees. So we got some really weather extremes up here. But the main track is in Palmer, Alaska Raceway Park. Probably one of the most beautiful tracks in the world. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it online, but it's got a Pioneer Peak in the background. So the drag strip is pointed right to this huge mountain that usually has a snow cap on it, even in the middle of summer. But with that, there's a lot of. It's hard to find a good weather weekend down there. A lot of times we'll show up and we'll just be rain 3 days straight. Another time we showed up, you can't stay out of the sun because it's so hot. So it's really hard to judge conditions or.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were born and raised in Alaska?
I was, or still am, I guess. My father came up here. Well, my father Gary, who owns the race car and tunes the race car and works on the race car. He's everything. He came up here. He was actually drafted into, I believe it was the Vietnam War, and they sent him here, and he never left.
So what got you into drag racing? Your dad?
Yeah, my dad. He grew up in Ohio. He lived down the way it's explained to me. I wasn't actually there, but he lived a few miles away from Art Arfons. influence of the old farmer mentality, and they would just, if they needed it, they built it. And he kind of grew up in that, the 50s, 60s scene of that old style racing. So it was really in his blood. And his brother, did a lot of racing also, so they were very into it. And when he came up here, there was a pretty good racing scene. They would shut down some of the airports or highways up here, and they'd have events now and again. But we never actually had a full-time racetrack in the interior of Alaska.
So what year did you start drag racing?
It was it was two weeks after my 16th birthday, and I got to drive the family car, which at that point was just called the Alaskan. It was a 125-inch wheelbase. Actually, it was Wild Willie Borch's last fuel altered that had been ran into a wall at Woodburn at one point and lengthened out to 125 inches. Had a 392 Donovan in it. Actually, when I started driving, it was an Iron 92 with a 2-disc clutch, and it was running. It would run 750 consistent every day, day in, day out.
So how many different cars have you drag raced in?
That was the first car. We kind of went with that until I was 19, and then we bought the Nightmare car. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was Van Haskett out of California, and it had a Hemi-headed 460 in it when he was running it. We brought that car up here and outfitted it with the 426, and it was a 2-speed car with a 3-disc clutch. Yeah, and we ran that for one season, and then we went to a high gear setup and a dual mag setup at that point. We ran Night Fire Nationals a few times with it. I think we won in '96, and then won it again in 2001. Yeah, and after that, we switched to a McKinney chassis, which was I don't know the lineage of the car, but it was the body that we have with it. The funny car body was the Jim Epler Rug Doctor funny car, and it was and they combined it with the chassis of Chuck Etchells. So it was the first 300-mile-an-hour body with the first 499 chassis, and they were put together. And yeah, we bought that combination, brought it up here, mounted the Grizzly body on it, which was it was a body that Dave Benjamin, Nasty Dave Benjamin, and my dad picked that up for a song and a dance. Brought it up here, cut everything apart, and made it fit, and that's kind of the car that you see in all the pictures today. It's gone through several revisions and upgrades. We've cut chassis off of it. We front halved it. We've done, everything. It's actually a really nice car, but we decided it was time to grow a little more, and we wanted to do something with this funny car chaos. So we picked up this new chassis, which was it's a slip tube car. It was out of the Schumacher camp. It was built by McKinney, and it's a 2005 is about the era it was running. I think it was a whip Bazemore chassis, and then we have, I think that it's the Oakley car of Gary Selzy's. They call it the Snowflake body that was paired with it. So we're working on getting those put together right now, and hopefully we can have everything together and be on the road when the snow melts up here, so we can hit the lower 48.
Now, are you going to put a big fuel pump on it?
Yeah, we got a 70-gallon fuel pump that we're running with. It's high gear, dual mag. We're having trouble finding enough track up here for it. Is the problem these days. We've kind of run into a wall with it when we were trying to, take enough clutch out of it. We were actually going through so much material in the clutch to get the car down the track. We were throwing the clutch out of this thing every time, and the track Well, being the only fuel car in the state that ever runs on it, and this is the track that pretty much only runs, 3.5, 4 months out of the year. Our car counts are, well, there's probably, I'd say 9 alcohol cars, dragsters, pro mods, funny cars that run at the track, and then we're looking at probably 75 to 120 sportsman cars showing up of, different ranges. So getting the rubber base on the track and finding the conditions for the car, they're always varying. So it's really hard to find any type of consistency in the track to get the car down it. And it's been a struggle these past few years. Of course, if you watch our videos, you can see that, we've ran 540s in the past. And, we would have beautiful weather and the weekends were long and just, here the past few years we'll show up and it's rain or, we do have some good weather, the track's just not there. And, we find ourselves not getting the data. We don't get the laps on the car, and it's been very frustrating, which is one of the main reasons that we decided that we need to get this operation back down to the lower 48 and, do some real racing.
So when you get this car ready, where are you going to test it at? Out there in Alaska, or are you going to bring it to the States?
We're going to have to bring it to the States because we want to be down there, as soon as the snow melts up here, which is, probably early May. And the racetrack, the first race of the season is usually like Mother's Day weekend, and we were hoping to be on the road and down to lower 48 by then.
Now you're going to be shooting some big header flames out of that thing, right?
Oh yeah, and maybe even night races. See, we can't do night races in Alaska.
Yeah, that's what you need, night races, where you can see them beautiful header flames coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I'm sure you've been watching the Funny Car Chaos events on like Facebook or whatever, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You see the Alan Middendorf's car with those big header flames.
Mm-hmm.
The American Outlaw car.
Yes. Yeah, and I think we can match that. I mean, we've got some pictures of some pretty good header flames on our,
Yeah, that's what people like to see, those big header flames and long smoky burnouts.
Mm-hmm.
Which unfortunately in NHRA you don't get to see the long smoky burnouts anymore because they say it's the tires or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this sport has turned into such a, it's expensive. It's really expensive. With it being $1,000 a tire and, fuel sitting at about $35 a gallon, and it's just there's a lot to it. So, trying to conserve the parts and make the races is kind of high on the priority. But we still do like to do long smoky burnouts and big header flames and throwing T-shirts to the crowd. That's all part of it too.
Now, do you have any sponsors for the car?
Yes, yeah. Napa Auto Parts up here is they're our big sponsor. They really treat us right. They give us the parts and the tools to get the job done. I can't thank them enough. Really, we've been working with them for years. We've been using their parts at our local shop here, the gas and diesel doctor, which kind of helps build and fund the race car even more. So if it wasn't for the community of Fairbanks, there would be no Grizzly.
Now, with the new car, is it going to look similar in design to the old this old Alaskan Grizzly?
It is. It's going to be the same body, same front and rear wing. We are trying to, right now, we want to move the rear wing back and get it so it's not attached to the upper hoop, just for safety's sake. So we're going to be moving the wing back down some, and we're trying to hook it into the uprights behind the driver.
Okay, so the only thing you got new is the chassis then.
Yeah. It's going to be a new chassis, and it's a slip tube car. And so we'll see how fuel altered's already unpredictable. So And a slip tube car is not as responsive. So what could go wrong, right?
Yeah. Now, besides Funny Car Chaos, are you looking to do any other like match races? Any other tracks?
We would love to do some match races. I really think, my father's looking at maybe showing up to like the Night Fire Nationals just because we've been there in the past. We've won it. And it'd just be, we really like the new family down there, and it'd just be nice to go down and do it one more time.
Oh yeah. All right. Now, do you have any inspirational drag racers besides your dad out that were inspirational to you?
Oh yeah. I always liked John Force. I just I grew up with him. I can't say I was drag racing for 10 years before I even made it to my first national event. It's kind of weird. I always watched it on TV. I really like Gary Selvey. All the good old boy racers that are the crowd favorites. Kind of appeal to us. You got some of these newer racers where they're just like big power teams with lots of money, and it just doesn't have the same feel. Not the grassroots, like they worked for it to get there. It's more of like, well, I brought a lot of money to the table, and we're going to go fast today.
Right. Now, your dad, how many years did he drag race for?
Going on 32 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, it's at 30. Yeah, about 32. No, it's not 30. It's right at like 28 years. I started when I was at 16, and I'm 45 right now. So I'm sorry. I went to high school at North Pole High, so I'm not real good at math.
So after all these years of drag racing, what still keeps you passionate about doing this, Jamie?
Oh, I would love to do it professionally, but
No. I said after all these years of drag racing, what still keeps you passionate about doing it?
Oh, I don't know. I love the sport. It's I don't know, the smell of the rubber, the like the teamwork and the dedication. We filled it a car every year except last year, and I think it was 2006 we didn't. But other than that, I really miss it. Like last season, not making it out to the track was, I did go down 4th of July weekend just to spectate. That was difficult not having a car there. It wasn't the same. So, but I do love my track family. I love the racers that are down there. I grew up with all of them. I don't, the Harris family racing has always been there. And all the other, Jay Childs and, the other, they've been there since I was a kid. They see me grow up. So they're like a family.
So it's the drag racing family atmosphere and the camaraderie of you and the other drivers that keeps you going.
Yeah,
and the fans.
There's a competition aspect to it. It feels good to win.
And of course, the fans. Did you?
And I'm sorry.
I said, of course, the fans keep you passionate about doing it too.
Yes, yeah, and they do a really great job down at Alaskan Raceway Park, bringing the fans in and making them feel like friends. It's like I've been to other tracks. On a limited basis, but it's fun going to them. I love racing, but Alaska Raceway Park. It's like a huge community, and when you're from, I know it's different because Alaska is like racing on an island. It's we're all the same people come back every year. It's not like we go to a different track. We have one in the state, and that's where we go do. So yeah, it's a little different than I guess to say if somebody was racing in Hawaii. I know they have more than one track, but you got to realize it's a really small community over there. So I would imagine it'd be a lot like that. I as one of my, as I charge at windmills in my life, I've kind of taken on a role of trying to build a drag strip in interior Alaska. And we're really close to it. We have property. We have, we're doing it through the Fairbanks Racing Lions, so it would actually be a Lions drag strip that we've been, there's a very dedicated group of racing lions up here in Fairbanks that we are doing fundraising. We actually, in February, we do this great Hot Wheels event for kids where we set a bunch of Hot Wheels tracks, and it's a great little fundraiser. So we're trying to make the payments on this property and find enough money to put it together. But we've got all the permits done, the wetlands permit, the large scale development. Pretty much we pushed a bunch of dominoes down getting to this point. So we got the property, the permits, everything ready to go. All we're missing is the $5 million to actually construct it. You don't have $5 million, do you, Dave?
No. Yeah.
I thought I'd ask,
Yeah. I wish. So now, Jamie, what was the experience like for you to get behind the wheel and drive a nitro car for the first time?
It's quite scary because first time we did it was actually on Fort Wainwright, which is a military base. It's in between Fairbanks and North Pole here. And when we were, bringing up oil pressure, we actually had the fuel pump on. So it pumped a bunch of nitro through the motor. We had dragster-style headers on it. So there's the nitro went through the pistons and ended up on the ground. There's big puddles of it underneath of it. And so they back the motor off, got all the fuel out of it. My dad comes up to me and says, so if it catches on fire, let the clutch out of it and just drive through it. And I was like, okay. So yeah, we started it up. Everything was fine. Doing the burnout, it was a little lean, but it was, making the flames out of the headers, and never experienced that before. It actually made me back off the pedal on the burnout, put my foot back in it. So yeah, it was quite an experience. And I think on that first pass, it was like an 850. It wasn't anything real major, but we I think that weekend, our first weekend out, we actually got the car into the 690s, which for our first venture in top fuel was pretty good.
So now, when you're out racing, who besides your dad, who are all your other crew members?
Got my brother Marty, who was actually doing the crew chiefing. My mom Sue, who she holds the checkbook, so that's an important role. My wife is always with me. She helps back up the car and helps keep everybody fed around there. I got my nephew Jesse and my son Zach, who are always helping on the car. And then we have other people down that show up and help with the track. David Lane, pretty much anybody that shows up that doesn't have a car, that and we always can use the help. I mean, I got a laundry list of people out there. Wesley Foraker has always showed up. The Robbie Huck and Cameron and there's too many to list. I mean, really, it's a hodgepodge of whose car is broken and who's helping the Grizzly, and just we all kind of come together to get that car down the track.
So now,
I really have to say I need to thank all those people that have helped us over the years. Even though I haven't said their name, they know who they are.
So what's the fastest pass you've made with the fuel altered?
5:44 at '79.
And was that at the Alaska track?
Yeah, that was up at Alaska Racing Park, or for me, down at Alaska Racing Park.
No. All right, now for next season, are you looking to have that thing go faster?
Oh yeah, that's our goal. We'd really like to get the thing down low fives. We would be ecstatic if we could run a 490 with it. That would be, the be all end all of fuel altereds. We don't have a lot of money. We're not a big budget team, so it's we really gotta find the conditions, and everything's got to be right. And we have to have the right tune up, and frankly, it's hard to do. But that would be the goal.
Now, are there any fuel altereds up here in the States that you would love to race one these days?
Oh yeah. There's pretty much. Well, what is that? I don't know if you saw that one that. Oh God. The big pro racer, Tim. Yeah, you know him, right? The Levi Ray Trump. My brain's not working. It's been a long day at work. But Tim Wilkerson. Tim Wilkerson?
Yeah, Wilkerson, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the gentleman that he's partnered up with, or not partnered. I don't know much about the car, but it was the Summit Fuel Altered. It ran once at a test event, and it was pretty much a 100% NHRA top fuel funny car with an altered body on it, and it looked mean. I would love to be able to have a weekend to go head to head with that.
Any other fuel altered you would love to match race with?
Oh, I wish Ricky would jump back aboard. I don't know if the consolidated car is still out there running. I know Mike Boyd was swinging for the fences in some cars. Any of those guys, I would just love to have that competition. There's not a lot of the big fuel pump fuel altereds out there, but if they're hiding in garages or they come out, I would definitely like to see them. There's some. I'm sure that with how drag racing fluctuates and there's always highs and lows, there's going to be more cars out there sometimes and new cars, and and I would like to be a part of racing them all.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of cool to see you match up with Jurassic Plastic.
Oh yeah, Motri.
Yep.
Yeah. That car. Yeah. I would love to. Last time we raced him was in Boise, Idaho, and it was one of the first times I ever raced, fuel altereds against somebody, and Tom Motri was one of them. I think who was the driver that was Rick Kraft was driving the car then, and yeah, they were. We just barely eked them out to in the top qualifying for. They're great racers and they have a great tune-up, and I can't say enough about being able to get around them because they got the car to beat right now.
Then you got Radar driving the Nitro Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, and I know that they're running the fuel altereds out of Texas, the 8th mile stuff, and I don't know. I don't think our car would kind of fit into that category because there's limits on pump and how much you can run. But I would really like to see an event that brings these big, high horsepower fuel altereds to one place where we can battle it out.
Yeah.
Like Boise used to do back in the 90s.
Yeah, the good old days, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back when I was young and felt good.
Yeah, I was born in 1968, so my dad started taking me to drag race when I was like 4 or 5, so I got to see the snake and mongoose and all them. Uh,
Yeah, and see, I have to watch those on old YouTube videos because I've been in Alaska.
right. Yeah. Yeah, but I was lucky enough to see the old days when they used to have up by me big funny car fields of like 20 to 30 funny cars back then.
Hmm.
That's a good thing about
And now,
funny car cats. You get to see about 20 or 30 funny cars over there.
yeah, and now you'd be hard pressed to get that many cars in one place. And yeah, with back then, you could do it out of your garage with a couple of your buddies and some iron 426 stuff, and it wasn't the, I don't know. And a lot of it is where the parts have gone. What it takes to keep the parts in one of these is really a lot of machining. A lot of technology goes into it now, and it's not that people are out moneying it. It just takes a lot of money to get the right parts to be able to control the power and get it to the track. And that's I wouldn't say it's killing the sport, but it's limiting what people can do.
Yeah, that's a good thing about funny. Chris Graves doing the funny car cast, so you get to see a lot of funny cars, and they bring whatever you want to bring, as long as it's got a funny car body on it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And yeah, and that's kind of what's attracting us to go down and do that funny car chaos. Just it looks, it's 8th mile, which we've always ran the quarter mile, but every time we ran the quarter mile, we also ran the 8th, so we feel like we can do it.
Now, when you're out on the track, Jamie, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions when you're out there?
When I was younger, I was always able to get strapped into the car and relax to a point where I could actually fall asleep and relax. And here, I don't know, as I've grown older, and as you grow older, you get bigger, and the car doesn't. So here lately, it's more of like, well, if I can just hold my breath another 10 minutes, I'll be out of this car. So yeah, I'd really like to get to a point where fit in the car better, I feel safer, and that comfortable point where you feel so comfortable in the car that you're relaxed and don't have a bunch of pressure on you, a bunch of anxiety building up, or it's enough anxiety that is built up that you're falling asleep. I don't know which one, but it's very, very calming.
Now, the Alaskan Grizzly name, your dad came up with that?
Well, we came up with, when I first started racing, it was called the Alaskan. And that was, my dad started racing back in, when tires were made out of stone. But he started out, his first car was really called the Snowbird. And it was a Cammer Ford and a Mustang. And he ran the Snowbird until he went to few altereds with that Cammer. And then he switched out the Cammer motor for 392 Hemis. And at some point, we changed the car to the Alaskan, painted it yellow, and we wanted the yellow color to be kind of flashy so it grabbed people's attention. And when we made the conversion to nitro, we wanted, Alaskan wasn't enough because it was a mean-looking car, so we kind of, just added the Grizzly to the end of it. Just, it changed.
Yeah, the Grizzly's a mean bear.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of preparation goes in getting the car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Well, usually we go down with, our plan is to make 2 passes a day. So, and we usually like to go down for 3-day weekends, which, they don't do 3-day weekends down at the raceway anymore just because they added a NASCAR track that takes up one. one of the evenings. So we would always be prepped up with at least 7 clutch packs, because you always have to have an extra one. And then, you have to have at least 110 gallons of fuel, and a lot of cleaning, a lot of preparation. Usually, everything's got to be washed before we get on the road. We go down there with, we have a stacker trailer and a 40-foot motorhome that's on a Kenworth chassis. And then I load up my motorhome with a trailer behind it, and my brother has his fifth wheel. So there's a caravan of about 4 vehicles that are pretty good size, and we all make the 400-mile trip down to Palmer, and hope we don't sit in the rain all weekend. And it's just a lot of. We start working. Well, we pretty much work every weekend to kind of get everything prepped for summer, and we run three weekends. We've always done the Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day kind of rule, and we've been doing that for about the past 5 years. So it's not, we're not hitting that hard schedule where we're doing 5 races in 7 weeks. It's always go down there, kind of see how the weather is, put the car down the track a couple times, hope we don't hurt anything, and bring it back up to Fairbanks, go through it again, and have it ready for that next weekend. So it's a lot of work, and my father Gary does a large majority of prepping everything, because I run the office in the family business. My brother does everything in the back, the machine shop and building of the engines, and we have 3 mechanics that we employ full time, and he's managing those. So we're pretty busy during the week, and of course we all have families. I have 3 kids. He has his kids, and it's life. You do what you can when you can, and hope you did enough.
Now, do your 3 kids like drag racing?
Mm-hmm. Actually, my father had every one of the grandkids in a junior dragster. Both my nephew and my oldest have just turned 18, so they're kind of timing out of it. So we have some extra junior dragsters for sale. You can find those on Racing Junk. So give us a call if you're looking for some juniors, because we can use the money to put into the Grizzly. And my sons loved it. They were very competitive. They had a great time. Of course, Grandpa, has 5 grandkids that were racing at the same time. So we were fielding 5 cars at Alaskan Raceway Park when there was only. Okay, my wife was fielding 5 cars, because we were working on the Grizzly while the juniors are running. So my wife would be running around with flags and starters, starting up all the kids, making sure they're buckled in, and yeah, it was quite a show. Quite a show.
Now, the 18-year-olds, are they going to do any other racing now that they're out of junior dragsters?
Well, yeah, might be. I don't know. These kids these days, they have no idea what it takes, and it takes the passion to do it, and the want to learn it. And both the nephews are trying hard. They both. Well, my nephew and my son are both trying hard. They both want to be mechanics. We have both of them working at the shop. They, when you see kids these days that don't really have the gumption or the knowledge to do anything, these kids they try real hard. They're not. This newer generation isn't like the generation that we came from, or the generation of our parents. But they're willing to learn, and they want to work hard. But I just don't think that society has gave them a fair shake. I don't think our school systems, the way they've taken shop classes away, and the opportunities for them to learn, outside of the family, just aren't there. Not like what I had, where I spent two periods in high school, in automotive class, which, I was way ahead of the curve because of, at that time I was running, 7.0s in a alcohol blowing altered, but still, I still built my Briggs and Stratton in small edges. And, it was all good experience. And I don't think kids these days are able to get that experience. I don't think, we don't see these youngsters showing up at the track. And if they do show up to the track, it's always with a junior dragster and a parent. You don't see us pulling people in like, it looks like a wall they can't get over when they come to a drag strip to just spectate.
Now, do you think either one of the two 18-year-olds will take over the driving seat from you?
I don't know. I don't think so. Just because it is such a dangerous sport. I don't want to see my nephew or my son in it. I guess. I mean, they'd really have to kind of. There'd be a lot of hard work on their end, and I just don't. I don't know. I think I would have a hard time sending my son down the track in a field car. Just, it's scary. But, if it's something that he works for, I would support him in that. But I don't know if I'd be like, hey, let's do this. Because it's a dangerous sport, and it just takes one wrong move.
Now, do you have a most...
But I would...
Go ahead.
I would totally support him if they had the drive to do it and they were, we were all going forward. Yeah, I would support him in that. I would still be, scared. Are we allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
That's kind of pocket.
Yeah,
I would be scared shitless. I would be.
Yeah. Now, do you have a most embarrassing moment on the track?
Oh, yeah. In Vegas, I ground looped a car, backing up from the burnout. The car, I let the clutch out, and it had a little too much caster, and the wheel started to whack around in my hand, and the car spun around backwards. And that's not the worst part. It spun around backwards, and I'm pointing towards the starting line, but I figured, well, I got a reverser. I started to do like the Austin Powers 300-point turn in a fuel altered.
No.
Where I started to, yeah. Finally my brother got out there and he got, shut it off. Shut it off. I almost had to turn back around though.
Wow. All right. So what's been your fondest memory of your drag racing career?
Winning the Night Fire Nationals, that was quite a highlight. We had pretty much every time you show up to the track with that car, it's a highlight. I mean, we don't get to do it a bunch, but we really had a good time doing it. And I guess just drag racing is the highlight. Doing the sport in a place that doesn't have a drag strip that is frozen 9 months out of the year, and there's really no place to do it, and really the people in this community when they see the car, because the community sees the car, we display it, we take it out places, but nobody ever gets to see it run because there's just not a place to do that. So it's really extraordinary when we get everything together and show up and make it run and do well with it. So it's we have a little more walls to get over than most racers do.
Right. So now, Jamie, for people to follow you and see what you can be doing next season, what's the best way for them to do that? The Alaskan Grizzly Racing page on Facebook?
Yeah, that's the best way. We've pulled the website down, and that'll be back up here in the next few months, and we should be debuting some pictures of the new car as we're getting it together. So keep looking for Alaskan Grizzly to make a big scene down there.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do this interview, Jamie.
I thank you for calling. I really, it was really a pleasure.
No problem. Save my number. We'll do another one in the future. Probably next year we'll check up on you.
All right. I'd love to do that.
All right. Well, you guys celebrate Thanksgiving out there?
Yes. Yeah. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Well, have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
And I wish you the best of luck next year with that new fuel-altered funny car.
Yeah. It's
You have a great night, Jamie.